are now listening to the V2V podcast only on channel Aurelius.
Welcome to the V2V podcast. We're back, and today I am talking with my good friend Travis Shivers, aka Cocoon. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, here we go.
Here we go. We're trying to figure out what to talk about today on the show. It happens to be episode 52. Which is kind of amazing that it's gone that far. There have been some structural changes. I don't think we've done a podcast in a couple of months. I think the last podcast we did was related to raiding Area 51, which was exceptionally popular for some reason. And people loved hearing about our take on the absurdity of Storm Area 51. Yes, it was. We did actually three different shows on it.
No, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I heard people were there. I don't know how big it was, but I heard that something did go on there.
Oh, I read some account about on the day it happened. It was like September 20th was the date, and apparently about 100 people showed up. And we were just having a good time outside the gates, and it was cool. No one got arrested. It was just people acting goofy, but it was literally only 100 people out of
tailgate.
The million.
Man, that's how I'd want to meet the aliens, man. The tailgate out, cooler. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how you started passing the coolers, man. Pass the ribbon.
It kind of. It's so funny. It kind of, I don't know if everything applies to the topic we're talking about today, but it kind of seems like that there's something to do with it. The whole idea that 1 million people are just going to abandon their lives one very early morning and rush out to the Nevada missile testing site and break down the gates and so they can see them aliens.
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as you mean, how we were talking about the cybernetics or the hive mind situation, and how I'm seeing with what you're talking about, how social media and kind of tells us what we're thinking on a daily basis. It's we wake up, we check in, and oh, this is going on today, and we're all thinking about it and reacting about it, and the Area 51 thing was huge on social media at one point. Everyone's all about it,
Oh, then it got into the real media too. It got out into the world, and then there were warnings from the military not to do it. Yeah.
Well, there's always to me there's the tail wagging the dog situation. So whatever is hype in the media, there's probably some laws being changed or some dirt happening that the government doesn't want us to see. So. That was to me a big, hey, everybody, look at this circus act over here, while this is going on over here, kind of thing.
Right, but somebody pointed out that because there was 2 months of lead time from the time the event was created till the time it was supposed to happen, that gave the the Area 51 folks plenty of time to move the aliens too. You know what I mean? They're
whatever's gonna.
We've got a month to get them off site.
I'm sure it was probably pretty much just an abandoned site or some sort of nothing going on there since the moment any of us ever found out about it. There's other secret places that were truly secret.
For sure. People don't necessarily know this, but there are many areas. People think Area 51. Well, there's Area 1. There's Area 30.
Totally, yeah.
There's a bunch of areas. And no one cares about the other areas for some reason. They probably just took the aliens and the technology over to Area 3, where no one would think to look.
You think aliens just hanging out in these bases anyway, playing cards for years at a time? Thinking, oh, hey.
Where are you? Oh, I'm over in Area 19 today. What?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, come on. I don't know. The whole thing's ridiculous. Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, I love listening to Art Bell back in the day, and that's when I started hearing about Roswell, and I do think that's possible. And but I don't think it's been anything since like that happened then, and probably for 50, 75 years not. Area 51. Who knows what's been more secret with more stuff going on in that place.
Oh, for sure. And there have been, like, really pretty recently some more than credible testimonies from people who, like, military folks, people who you wouldn't necessarily think would be fooled or certainly not, like, make stuff up about strange things in the sky that were like flying along with them and stuff, or that's weird because if it was secret, if it was some secret military technology, those like fighter pilots wouldn't be talking about it anyway because they would know, like presumably they would say, oh, that's our stuff,
right?
But did they come out and say, oh, we have no idea what these things were? And then no one else knows either. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange. I like to, I think pursue some of that stuff a little bit. I don't think it's never played out like, the idea of, what's in the sky and, space, astronomy.
The possibilities are, such that there's aliens from an actual other planet, or there's some sort of beings that are multidimensional kind of aliens. It's easier to, show to the public that they're aliens, but they're really multidimensional sort of being types things. If you look at like Ancient Aliens, which is on the History Channel, that's like right public, like mainstream information right there. That's kind of talking over and over again about, all these different stories about some sort of, aliens or fallen angels or these people from the heavens coming down and, mixing with humanity. You know what I mean? It's really, it's totally possible that this is still going on, in front of our faces almost,
Well, sure. I mean, presumably these civilizations have had millions and millions of years to develop technology that has only recently arrived here, or, things like that. We may be behind the curve technologically, which is very possible. We might be, on just a different plane where the technology that's out in different places where they can actually travel, close to light speed. Even at light speed, though, it's going to take like years and years and years to like get anywhere, even at the very fastest rate possible. Like you're going to be like traveling a long, long time.
Well, and that's how the multidimensional thing happens, or comes.
They're here already, right?
So yeah, they're here already, and they have been throughout human history. I mean, it's sort of one of the prevailing theories that is in all the like old Sumerians. Actually, that's one of the oldest civilizations. They talk about Anunnaki. Zachary Sitchin talks about this. You know what I mean? The biblical reference to the Nephilim. As people coming down, and I mean, you see it all over this sort of. Like I say, History Channel, I mean, aliens got hours and hours and hours. Every time you turn it on, it's like, hey, is this, going on? So, that's a part of it. But see, it also brings up, though, I think it might have been Reagan, but I'm not sure. You have presidents talking about, like, if aliens were to come, that would be one way to see us all unite. Like, that'd be one way to, like, see humanity become one again, as if, or, for the first time, as if an, alien race came, because then we'd all want to, like, team up against that, So there's like, there is if you look at globalization and a need or want or desire to create a one world government or one world organization or one world mind thought or pattern, like patterns of society, like that could be beneficial to it. So there is, a possibility that the government is working with these people or creating it, or they have a vested interest in a disclosure at some point.
My guess is that, like, my serious guess is that nobody really knows what the hell is going on. And
absolutely, I second the motion, buddy. Totally.
I just don't like. Over time, I've developed this pretty firm belief that regardless of how much power any person holds, it's just not sufficient to know certain things beyond human capacity. Like, regardless of how much power you have among people, it just doesn't appear that these people, that we as human beings are really that smart. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where's the smart guy? Like, I haven't found him yet.
Totally.
I haven't found the guy.
Well, it's sort of the dilemma of being, in our bodies, having everything about our reality temporary. The fact that we
kind
die
of know everything about people, though. You know what I mean? We know about how people are. Like,
well, I think that's debatable because I don't think that people are necessarily bad. I think their culture's bad, and I think we've manipulated for a long time through centuries of
for sure,
slave mentality, and sort of it's like we live in a human farm. You know what I mean? An open human farm, and we've been manipulated like farm animals or slaves to some degree.
Of course. People have that kind of power where they can manipulate other people, but it's somewhat limited to the resources of secrecy and authority that people have available to them, and usually that involves like wealth and power and secrecy. But as far as like the other like bigger things, like beyond human comprehension, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, people were horribly and strangely and ironically manipulated by like MK Ultra programs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that kind of created like also the counterculture at the same time, which is weird. People were like signing up to take LSD.
Right. Well, this sort of gets into some of this research that sort of sparked us talking about doing this. Like the whole Peter Pan syndrome. And that the pure eternus. The concept of how people or a person doesn't develop into maturity. We get stuck on our parents, particularly our mother.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm seeing this in context of our culture now. Because see, how I got thinking about this was I'm writing a book about my hitchhiking experiences and biking across the country and all that. And what I found, was a sort of the process of rite of passage, the whole ability or the time going out in the wilderness. It's just you against nature, and then you see the process of where you become an adult through learning how to survive in that environment, and it was a big part of culture back in the day.
Oh yeah, and I think what you're talking about today, I mean, it's been going on for many years. This whole concept, but the idea of having an overprotective mother that that you're not you don't allow yourself to, like,
in our culture. Well, what I'm saying is that we don't have this in our culture anymore. So we have a people who doesn't disconnect their way of surviving from their parents. The whole process was to get taken out of nature for months, get taken away from your mother, your parents, and learn to survive on your own. You develop independence. You develop a relationship with your power, with nature, with your higher power, with your source, and you come back to the village an adult. And this was a massive part of humanity until recently. We don't have this anymore. Now we have a form of it, and this is my point, through statism or through cultural engineering, where we get told, instead of becoming an individual, we pass on that independence from our parents to the state. Go to state college, we take on the status quo. We get a wifey to pick it, the two have kids, pick a fence, and we follow what we consider right or wrong based on what the state tells us is right or wrong. And we base us being a good person based on following the status quo rules, you see.
So why don't more people, or why have people kind of lost the ability to stand on their own? Like, how did that happen?
Well, see, back in the day, it would be like the uncles, the tribal uncles would like run into the middle of the night and grab the like teenage boy and take him from the village.
In more modern society, I get that.
Well, because it's the statism, it's a part of globalization. It's a part of what we're hopefully maybe going to get to in this conversation, which is like cybernetics and bringing humanity into one consciousness. Perhaps it's get to the globalization, the Agenda 21, and so it's the molding of culture. And in order to take over a whole world of people and their minds, you have to initiate this process where you take away the rite of passage for individuality, and this is how you still a generation of children. You get them dependent on the state through these processes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So what's left? Like, what are the choices that people can make to have these rites of passage? Like,
possible? For me, it's like this. All I can do, I think once you reach, anybody who's ever actually been able to reach any, realizations to the top of the mountain and become, have reached some sort of satori or enlightenment and come down the mountain. We don't know how we got there necessarily. We don't know how we got down, and we sure can't necessarily claim to teach anybody. But we can reverse engineer it, talk about the things that are similar about, how I've done it and other people who've done it. It's been going on for thousands of years. Seekers, we've been sharing our maps for thousands of years. I'm like, well, I meditated this long. Well, I didn't eat nothing for like 40 days. Well, I took a bunch of psychedelics, man, for fucking 17 days. You know what I mean? Like so we've been peeking over the veil for thousands of years, coming back, trying to figure out how we did it and share that. But it is happening. And that's the point is like, there is a rite of passage. It is true. You just go out. That's why I started when I was 19. I started out hitchhiking with no money. And it was like going in nature with a loincloth and a little knife and having to come back to the village with a dead carcass. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. And you're still here. You survived that.
Yeah. 20 years later, still doing it. That's the end of it.
You lost the fear. You lost the fear of striking out like that and actually did it. Not knowing what was going to happen next.
Right. Well, what it does. Yeah.
You managed to come out on the other side and gain some knowledge of at least of yourself and of the world around you through those alternate channels where really it's like the real channel, like the real humanity getting out into and it sounds like a cliche, but the real world. And talking to real people about what they're doing and sharing your experiences. And it matures you. Something happens where you kind of lose the need to be tied down by anything. And it just seems like people are scared to like cut those strings.
Well, because it doesn't make sense.
They've been manipulated into thinking they can't.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so it doesn't make sense. It's illogical. So like you have $100 in your mind, you got to be like, okay, well I got to go where $50 can take me. I got to come back, turn around and come back on my $50 because our minds has to be able to understand the physics, the science of it. Well, I only have so much money. I need so much food. But you take that $100, you just go as far as you can on it. At that point, you've entered into the rite of passage. You have trusted life with your life now. Now you will either live or die. And what happens in my experience and what I'm seeing go on is your dependence from what used to be your social structure, which is your parents and your home life, is now brought on check. And you see the universe come through for you. You see life come through for you through the knowledge that you've been given. Somehow you knew how to make a fishing pole when you needed to or whatever. Or it's like social currency. You learn how to talk to people the right way when you need it and things come to you, the opportunities to survive, And then your dependency becomes between you and your relationship with life or nature or the great mystery or God or whatever it is. And that independence is what you come back to the village with. You're like now, like in your own power, you got dignity and strength. You ain't got to kiss nobody's ass or nothing, or like, sit on nobody's couch because you don't know how to go do things you're on your own anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what, I found wonderful in my life and what I'm, was researching when I found out this topic, and how to, looking for ways to bring us to people. I think that, there's certain people that have that spark in them. They have that, these desires, people still, they daydream in their lives, and so I think that it's okay to encourage that with people. Yes, it's dangerous. I can't guarantee. I mean, lots of things happen when people, step out of their comfort zone, step out of life, and,
I think it's dangerous not to.
Well, yeah, quiet servitude, right? Or desperate, like this quiet desperation, right? It's
so
just like.
Have you read the little novel Siddhartha?
Oh yeah, totally, yeah.
Okay, so that's I mentioned I was writing a screenplay, and that's what I'm adapting. And there's a couple things. There's a great line in the book that this young man learns, and the three skills he learns are that he can sit, he can wait, and he can fast. And as long as he can do those three things, he discovered that the world will come to him. And that is, if he can be secure with himself and if he can think and wait and sit and ponder, that he's got really nothing to worry about, because eventually someone's going to come to him and start asking him questions about what he's doing. And then I guess the appropriate response in some ways is, well, you came to me. Like, why do you think I have any answers? Like, you should just sit here with me. Maybe like come on the journey with me, and become a wandering monk and become a merchant and become a musician and become a ferryman and do all of these things that you aren't even aware are around the next corner, but just to go along the path and see what comes up, and then engage in that activity, whatever it is, and find fulfillment in.
It's like another world, man. It's like
another world.
It's like another world, man. You step into this, like, what I've been talking about, like a faith-based life. It's like when you got like $15, man, and you got your backpack with you and you're just cruising, you're just like, you surrender to the moment, and you get to be in each moment as long as you want to and follow the flow, and you get to find the rhythms of your own emotions, and you can rest when you want to rest, and you can be social when you want to, and you can eat when you want to eat, and then you like get more in touch with nature, and there's bliss in that, there's a joy and fulfillment in that.
Yeah, 2 years ago when in fact, it'll be 2 years on Friday that I stopped drinking, right? And
oh, nice! Congratulations, bro.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm on like September 13th of the year and something now, bro.
Yay!
Yeah.
So what happened, much more than the idea of like not becoming intoxicated, was this thing that happened with me where, and it was kind of weird. It wasn't even really a choice. It just, something happened to me where I realized that I didn't have to keep making plans. Like, that I could just go through life and take things like minute by minute, day by day, and not stop worrying about the future.
Yeah.
And not really make any concrete plans about what was going to happen next. And what's happened is that I've had this amazing, fulfilling, interesting, happy life because I lost all this fear about what happens next.
Yeah.
And, if I could give that to people, I might not. And the reason, the reason I might not is because sometimes people need to get to a certain level where they're desperate enough to listen, to a different point of view.
Understanding enlightenment or understanding the Tao isn't living the Tao. We can explain it, and it's fun to explain, but you have to make your own path to it to understand it and be living in it, And what you're talking about is beautiful. Some of my favorite stuff. It's literally the path of the Tao, so surrendering to the path of water. being
Right.
present. You gotta, the death of the ego. You gotta give up the future, your ambition, what you think is good for you, just to be. It's like, oh, we are not our minds, we're not our conclusions, our labels. I'm not Travis, I'm not American. I'm an eternal witness that sits behind that. And you can, through spiritual work, through meditations and vision quest and rite of passage, find that consciousness where you're just being, and you're transcend duality, and you allow all of life to come to you. The world is spinning and life is unfolding, and people think that they stop willing or having ambition, that they're not going to accomplish anything. But like water itself is always in motion. It just doesn't use its own will. It's just going with the flow. And it carves mountains and it carves rivers.
Right.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny when people start talking about that with anxiety, because they're talking about stuff that hasn't happened yet. They don't even have in their hands. They're not even holding the thing. And they're worried
Yeah,
they don't have it.
that's
You don't have it already.
people,
You don't.
yeah,
you
but they
don't
judge
have it
it.
already.
Yeah.
Why are you worried about not having it? You don't have it now.
Because they think they know what it is. They're like, oh, I think I know what that is, and I don't think I want it, because what I think I know what it is what I want.
It's so awesome.
Right. No, it's one of them things. And when you come down the mountain, I was just thinking about this earlier, because it's just such a funny moment if you think about the story of Moses coming down the mountain with his face glowing. And if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but I think they had him put like a cloth on it. And they're like, just imagine,
right. It was too bright. It was too bright for them to
dude,
look
your
at.
face is glowing, I can't handle it. You just saw God, put a cloth on it, I can't handle it,
Yeah. Right. They can barely look at him. It's like, oh, dude, cover up your face. You're too enlightened. You're too light.
Well, yeah,
there's too much light. There's too much light coming out of your face.
Just the irony that, we're looking for something, this enlightenment, and we don't understand what it is. And so when it comes to us, we're afraid of it, Because for me, the truth about anything about, my quest for enlightenment has been, it's more like Fight Club. It's actually a very gruesome, gritty process. It's not like this, what I thought was going to be like, oh, I thought I was going to be a superhuman, all guru-like. I will have no more negative emotions. People will come to me. I will be glowing. It's all good, baby. Right. But no, it's not like that. You're still human. You still have all the emotions. It's just how you think about them or how you perceive them. It's the welcoming of the darkness too, So you go through the valleys more open arms, but you still have valleys. We still have emotions. We still get cranky. We're still assholes.
Sure.
Those gurus, they just presented it as oh, it's just control bliss. They were just trying to make a buck maybe, or sell people what they needed. Because the truth is, we stay on that path, and it's not like that. It's gruesome. You gotta look at the devil horns, and you see your own devil horns in the mirror and realize your own darkness, and you gotta confront your own shadow. Ooh.
Right. So this reminds me of two things. It reminds me of people's perceptions of celebrities, and also more to this point, people's perceptions of someone hey, everyone's going to get dressed up and they're dashikis and robes, and they're going to go see Ram Dass speak, right? So they're all going to go to the Unitarian Church and sit around and listen to Ram Dass speak, and that's the perception they have of him, because he's performing and he's doing a presentation. When he leaves, he's in fucking traffic. He's hungry. He didn't get enough sleep.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Totally, bro.
And people think that people go in there and they think oh, I want to be like that guy, not realizing
it's
they already are like that guy. I want to be like Kanye West. Are you sure? Because the perception you have of him is the images that are given to you, and
not necessarily real.
By the media. But so you're seeing a very small fraction of a percentage of his life. So if you followed him around all day for a week, you would see that he eats, shits, sleeps, cries, gets upset, finds joy with his children, gets stuck in traffic, all of the stuff that everyone else does. But oh no, you want to be like him? You already are like him. You are the celebrity. You are that guy. Yeah. There's no differentiation. And that's a cool thing. Well,
that's the image they sell. That's the image that society sells, is that somehow we feel this brokenness and we think that we can become something different through the products or through the the lifestyles, through the achievement of the sort of status symbols and material items and things like this.
Yeah. But everybody everybody really does the same job too, like in the sense of like, you sit down, you stand up, you walk, you think, you manipulate physical objects. From a janitor, right? He's sweeping, right, or mopping. He's thinking about what room he needs to mop next. He's dealing with the people. The CEO, he goes into his office, he sits down, he stands up, he writes with a pen. He's dealing with the people. He's eating lunch. You know what I mean? It's like the same fucking thing. You call it something different, but it's the same thing. We're all doing the same thing. Like,
yeah.
we use different labels on it, and then we value these things differently for some reason, because the world tells us so when we buy into it. You don't have to buy into it. You don't have to.
Yeah, it's like, it's like defining ourselves through social validity. And I think what we're talking about is switching that whole matrix into living from self-validity, making sure that you are in touch with your own inner values and that you live in true to them. And it's the difference between being able to feel happy when you're in a room full of people and they say something about what you're going to do and they're like, man, that's a really dumb idea. We think you're retarded. But you still
right.
feel like, you know what, that's cool, I dig that you guys don't dig it, because I get it, and I'm going to still do it. And when you have that sort of true conviction with your own values, that's freedom. And I think that's what this process is about.
Yes. Yeah. That's, I think you're right. And that really seems to be the way to kind of, if people want to break out of this Peter Pan kind of lifestyle, if they want to, because there's so much, like, apparent comfort in not taking responsibility, but
well, that's the thing is that, and that's the scary part of what we're seeing is that it's sort of like this Brave New World Huxley thing where like they won't, even notice what's happening because they're not looking up from the screen. So society's given us such great distractions. I mean, the cell phones are legitimately addictive. They're fun. I'm totally addicted to it. I love it. Got many reasons for it, but I also still feel like I'll start feeling really good in my painting and in real life, all the things I'm learning to do again, like guitar, and I pick up my phone, get on social media, and I get creeped out from it for different reasons, like sometimes it's like a boost, like, oh wow, so-and-so hit me up, a notification again or whatever, that's cool. But it's like a pseudo relationship. It's like now I have these relations with people. It feels like we're keeping up, but all we're doing is like liking each other's shit, and that's like being in a jail cell, sliding like little pieces of paper under a note, under a door, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Those are called parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
Let me.
Nice.
I'm going to look that up and define it a little bit. But yeah, it's a parasocial relationship. It's not real.
Thank you.
It's not a real.
Nice one, Marcus. Nice one on that one. Yeah, that's it. And I noticed
they're one-sided, which one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time. The other person or persona is completely unaware of the other one's existence. Like it's like people. It's like falling in love with people on like YouTube channels, like where you might like your favorite podcast. Speaking of trends, we have fans like, and you don't know who they are, but they really like what we're doing. So it's this one-sided thing, or people that you don't know on Facebook, but you like what they do, you like what they post, you hit the heart button and the like button.
And so it's like,
and they don't care, they don't interact with you whatsoever, you just like what they're doing.
No, And this is
used to be more common with celebrities, sports teams, but now it's become it's become common with everybody. Like everybody has these relationships. It's weird.
Different versions of that, levels of that. And it's like making us all fragmented. I was just like talking with a friend about that too, how because we have all these different types of, I hate to say the word relationships, but internet relationships are just people we're talking to different ways or interacting with. Our focus is away from the moment face to face with people, and I've noticed that with people now. It's like we're not engaging in the same level of, learning from each other, because, back in the day when it was just you and your friend and you got in a fight, you felt like, you felt bad until you made up with that person, and you got the lesson. Maybe you had to apologize. Maybe you had to feel bad for 3 days till you finally said, okay, I'm sorry. I get it now. I won't do it again. Yeah. But now it's like someone calls you out on something bad and you can just go get on like social media and get your 15 notifications and feel good and not have to learn any lessons. So that's part of what we're getting into this, society where like everyone's grown up, but everyone's got the emotional maturity of like teenagers.
Right.
Of these
I got into a conversation with someone the other day about my point of view was that, like, for instance, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the big social media platforms, they're not real. And it's like, what do you mean they're not real? I'm like, okay, so someone posts their wedding, somebody else posts somebody died, and somebody posts a picture of a funny cat, and someone posts something else that's like a meme, whatever it is. And everything is treated equally. You're just scrolling past, oh, look, someone got married, someone died, it's a funny cat. And we're putting everything on this one level, and
like it's equal value.
In the real world, that's not how
the whole
those things are.
On the same level of like
there's different levels of significance to things, but
this is a great topic,
social
man.
media, everything is like leveled out.
This gets into like this book that's called "Amusing Ourselves to Death," right? "Amusing Ourselves to Death" by Neil Postman. It's epic now. It's written like, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, but it's becoming more and more relevant, and people are picking it up and talking about it in college and stuff, and colleges, teaching about it and stuff. But he talks about how back in the day, what you see is two different things go on. And one of them is with media, because used to be the news was about things immediately in your community, things that affected you and things you could deal with. Local politics, local, weather coming in.
Yeah. And
these things made you feel empowered because you could be involved with them. Then the telegraph started happening, and that's when that all changed. You started getting news from other places that become, okay, that's really sad about, Iran, but what can I do that immediately? And really we can't do nothing about it immediately, and so it becomes irrelevant information to us, but we become bombarded by information, and we shut off to all of it. So now we're not even active in our local community.
Right, so you have this, like, posting culture where people are, like, they're vaguely... I don't know, the mind that if they like something or retweet something or post something, that they're actually doing something about it, but they're not. And so it breeds this weird sense of anxiety about how helpless we all are about the world around us.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, totally. And it's just all making us more overexposed, overwhelmed, more, we get callous to it, we're disconnected to it, really. We're not really not active anything, and then we're just looking for distractions, and there's a smorgasbord of distractions for us. There's sports and media and video games and movies and shit, man. The house is like literally falling down and like fucking on fire, and there's a big screen and our favorite games going on, and there's people going to sit there till the very end, till that fire gets to them, that's where we're at,
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And another thing this gets into is like Edward Bernays and social engineering. He invented the term public relations to change out, propaganda. And this gets into advertising and how it used to be like, hey, look at this product. It's made of steel. Other ones aren't made of steel. Buy our product. And now it's like, see this girl with these big boobs? Yeah.
What was the guy's name? What was the public relations guy's name?
Oh, Edward Bernays in the early 19th century. He got hired.
Oh my God. Yeah. He
got hired.
His first campaign, right? His first campaign.
Yeah, was the women. Like he got
smoking women.
You know about it. You know what's up, dog?
So,
him.
So not enough women were smoking. So he's like, okay, let's get a bunch of pretty women and have a parade and have them smoke. And then that's it.
Exactly.
And so people would see like, oh, these beautiful women are smoking. I guess it's cool for me to smoke too.
Empowerment for women, being an independent woman, and smoking became a symbol of that through that demonstration of Edward Bernays. Yeah, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the government started hiring cats like that to
Bernays changed
he has more to responsibility in how we think than we do. You know what I mean? Like he's personally a cat that's installed so much of our thinking that we think, oh, I'm an independent thinker. These are my views. But dudes like that, man, they're social engineers. That's their job title.
Right.
And so it gets into the mind control and
to strip away even the reality of free will.
Was what they did. See, Edward Bernays was the cousin of Freud, right? And so what they developed was, and this goes along with the timeline of the telegraph and the onslaught of television and radio and this whole media, the ability to get into the individual's minds.
Advertising
is the lizard mind. It's how they started using the triggers. They basically use these advertising techniques now to trigger within our brains, the same triggers that dopamines and such that like a drug would do. So they've hotwired our brains through the medium, and now we're like we live a culture of addicts. We're like all complete like fucking junkies.
Sure. Here's a good example. Here's a good example. Like so, many of the car commercials that pop up on television today involve scares, like near misses, braking just in time to not hit the little girl, logs falling in the road where you have to swerve around. A lot of advertisement is based on exactly that, like fear of, I better get that, or something terrible is going to happen to me.
Exactly.
And you don't even notice. You don't even notice that that's what's going on. But like, a lot of this advertisement, they breeds fear so that people feel insecure and they better go get that thing, or they're not going to be safe.
Totally. Yeah. The fear of death, the sexual urges, all these things they've learned through the guise of advertising to trigger within us, and it's incredibly manipulative if you think about it. It's very malicious in a way. But that's if you start looking at like the television and the patent, the flickering, the hertz or whatever is the patent, and the military developed that. They own that. It would be something that it would be safe to say that the TV and entertainment was designed to help unify the masses, the way of thinking, more than it was made for entertainment. We think, it's just a big market. But no, the Pentagon's involved, the CIA's involved with, I saw an article not so long ago, 1,400 movies listed that the government was directly related on set, helping make sure that it was done right,
Yeah. Oh yeah, it happens all the time, like. And so
like
all the Marvel movies, those are all like partially financed and backed up by the CIA and the military ship. Like it's a huge public relations campaign, and people don't even realize it.
Yeah, well,
it sounds crazy to say, right? Like,
oh no, the two sounds absolutely bizarre, but I mean, it's these are the possibilities.
It's real.
I'm just like, I like to research, I like to think, I like to find out things, they say, he who controls the pupil controls the being, the eyeball. So if you think about it, we're supercomputers and we watch these movies or these TV shows and we learn social morals through them. We learn how to act and be and think through these things. It's not more than entertainment going on, And this is like, leads us into, sort of the 5G thing and cybernetics, which is, creating a network between not only machines but people as well, and that's sort of what I think our future is. It's the most craziest thing you could think about, and it's our almost direct, immediate future. And I feel like that's what we should be understanding and talking about a lot, because that's what's happening in the world right now. The 5G thing, when all your appliances have this 5G capability, they can connect it all to one to the web. And there could be an AI that can process all this, so there could be sort of one mind interfacing it all, And then so, if you look at what like Elon Musk is talking about, he has come very public for a very long time and saying we have to worry about AI, and so his solution is to work with the AI, and so he's very quickly developing the ability to put chips in our minds, so that basically we're directly connected to the computers and the web. He's basically saying we're already cyborgs with these phones in our hands. It's just a data transfer issue. We have to look at our phones, and we have to touch it, and then we have to read it. But that is the very early onset of us being a cyborg. That's crazy, right?
It is. There's a company called Alcor. About them, where it's cryonics, where someone's someone is declared they're clinically dead, their heart stops beating, they stop breathing, they are immediately filled with basically antifreeze and put in a cryogenic tank to be revived later, or like the whole body. You can do the whole body, or you can just do like the your head down to your shoulders, to be later on revived and put into like a system. So knowing that you're not going to be a real person anymore, but they will maybe build like a cybernetic body for you, so you can you can come back in 50 years.
To the bionic man.
What?
Yeah, that's gnarly possible now, right? Yeah.
That's real.
Really
that's happening too.
So
that's all happening too.
Maybe you've seen, like, I don't know if you've seen, like, there's a lot of these videos now about the future of AI and stuff, and there's this cat from Japan, and he keeps talking about, like, and he says in 10 years we're going to be able to basically upload our consciousness to the World Wide Web and just live there forever,
There's a lot being done like right now with cybernetics. We can already do insects really well. We're getting to the point where we can mimic small mammals, and even like animals like dogs, like.
Right.
So we're definitely headed in that direction as far as like
and that's
all the wiring right.
Yes, that's basically what I was implying and getting to earlier with saying how our appliances are all going to be connected very soon, and then very soon our minds will be as well. And so our minds, with all of the, self-driving cars and blah, 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 is going to be connected to one AI in which will be a hive mind mentality in which we all have one direction that'll be told to us through.
Well, the way that will be sold though is with the idea that you can be or do anything you choose. Like you can be camping out in the woods, but you're just sitting at your desk. You can you can do all this stuff, but you're still like very much. And then someone can like knock, whenever, and a door opens and there's some. Hey, your time is up here. I mean, who knows? It's super creepy, right?
It is really super creepy. Posthumanism, it's transhumanism. I see it as a fight for humanity. And so like, I'm taking my art in this direction. It's sort of like this, resurgence of the analog. I got a typewriter. I've been enjoying actually writing on a typewriter. And I got back into painting instead of making videos as much. Just to be in real life again, because, just because a computer can mock emotions, is it really human or alive? And so that aspect of being human, that divine spark that people talk about that we have, that's in jeopardy right now through this process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I feel it's important to understand the future, the immediate future. There's microchips in people. There's like a whole, world unfolding. The Pope is, making meetings with the Muslims and talking about, unify religion. You know what I mean? So
sure.
Globalization is what I think it boils down to. If you start really tying all the chaos together, and why is there so much chaos? It's, they have to create some sort of World War III scenario, so all the sovereign independent nations will be on their knees, and then that's the only way they would really accept a world leader. So
I think it'll be softer than that, personally. I think we're already kind of there. Like in that the idea is that I think slowly but surely over the next 5-10 years that like the fighting part will end. It's becoming it's not useful anymore. Like there's no territory to like take. It's like very few instances where there's anything to conquer anymore by using blunt force. There's only a few patches around the world where that's really kind of going on, in the Middle East a bit, and that's as the Western world continues to have influence over the rest of the world, and these kinds of technologies come into more prominence. There's not going to be a need, and it's just going to be a waste and seen as foolish by leaders. And I think we're approaching that, which is good in a sense. Like, we don't want people killing each other, but that will lead to, I think, the real change in kind of in what you're talking about, this transhumanist movement, where there is this worldwide agreement, conglomeration of authority, and there's going to be nowhere to go that's any different from anywhere else.
Yeah.
So people are going to want something different, and then they're going to spoon feed us something different.
I mean, that's one thing that anybody that's been able to travel around and just be eyewitness to our culture, I mean, that has happened in front of our face. All over the country, all around the different countries I've been to, it's like the takeover of the international, corporations of restaurants and fast food and outlets, and it's like the same thing everywhere you go. Same restaurants.
And what's more insidious, I think, is that in a lot of cases, those in authority, is kind of approaching more of like a Thanos kind of situation where and we've seen it with people living outside, homeless individuals, the homeless populations, like those around them don't want them to move. They don't want them to get housed. They want them to not exist. And
totally, yeah.
poor people without means in general. A lot of people think that the world would be better off if all of the poor people just like didn't exist, or like contained in a little environment where they could just like die off. And that's because there's no need for a war in that case. So the poor people aren't going to be able to fight back anyway. Like not at the end of a gun. Like they're not going to, or the threat. Or big vans showing up and kidnapping people. I mean, all this is happening right now anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother can of worms there.
It really is.
And because it's like,
it is.
Poor people hating on other poor people is just some Scrooge stuff right there. The social engineering, I don't think it's really going on. If anybody was just look into it for 5 minutes, you'd realize corporate welfare is massively where our money's being drained. You've got such massive money inequality right now. It's just absolutely insane. You got like 2 people in the United States now that have as much as half of the country. 1,300 billionaires have 92 to 94% of everything in the world. Like, it's absolutely insane. Like, that's what we can't afford as billionaires and trillionaires. But they have the money to influence culture and to put in the media and put in the movies, put in the education systems, put in the church systems, ways of thinking and, concepts that are prevailing, progressivism and, postmodernism and all these ways of thinking, man, that can be paid for. And that's what's going on. So they get us to hate ourselves. And that's the overpopulation myth. That's this whole dehumanization, why it's like there's way more fighting and killing on the media than there is loving and hugging and sexual, togetherness, because they want to dehumanize us. So we further get closer to go along with the ways that they're killing us, slowly killing us, and even want us to kill each other. Zombie apocalypse time, and we don't do nothing about war. No one does shit about it, but maybe post about it once or twice and say,
that's right.
We're not calling anybody. You know what I mean? We're not, we don't. So it's like, they get us to just be inactive, just sort of in this mindset of thinking that we're just faces in the crowd, because there's so much power, man. We each have, we can all make such a ripple, I just know that in I'm a goofy, skinny kid, man. I just went out and was able to make, there's all these things I can talk about that I got to do with the culture, being in the media and stuff, and hear about it from around, and the influences we make. I know that it works because I did it. I fumbled, I made many mistakes, but I just tried, and I've feel like I've, in my little ways, made the world a better place. And I see how you've done it in your, in your process, and watching you explore your art and your life, man. You know what I mean? The free spirit types, man. We're on the beach. All the people that came by, and all the, and you've been in my video work. That's, we've done the immortalization process. My friend.
That's right. Yeah. So I think this is a good talk. I think it leads us to a bunch of other conversations that we should have, and maybe separate some of this stuff out again. and
like
for instance, like for next week, and hit some things like more specifically. But yeah, I think this is a great intro to the new direction.
And maybe some listeners can give us some feedback and help dictate that direction. You know, like some questions or some topics that kind of came up that they would like to know more about. You know?
Personally, I'm open to just about any interesting topic. But the things that we hit on today, there's a lot of food for thought there. So, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing where this goes, and welcome aboard.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very excited. You know, I've been loving that you've been doing this thing. So yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, I've been very like, damn, good move, Marcus, since you started doing this. Yeah, I guess this is the 52nd episode.
It's the 52nd episode of the podcast. There are over 400 videos of different sorts on the channel. And you know, I've got a Patreon page. We have one patron. You know, that's fine, right? But it's you know, it's like baby steps. Like I wouldn't be doing this unless I wanted to. I'm certainly not caught up in what the definition of success is regarding the YouTube channel or the stuff I put up on Spotify.
Yeah.
There are listeners and people are getting stuff out of it, and whether that's one person or a million people, it's all the same.
Well, I mean, but it's like what, you know, I learned in LA from some incredible people. There's a thing we have out there, you know, it's like it took them 10 years to become an overnight success.
That's right.
You know, it takes time, man. We'll put the energy in there, and who knows? It's interesting too. Sometimes, like, I'll pick up a book from some writer 75 years old, and I'll get something out of it, and the person's long gone, but like it changed my life. Like I obsess on what I learned from them in that book, you know, and it just kind of shows just how deep the art goes. Like, who knows, you know, who this gets to, when it gets to, the things we make. You know, it could be 100 years later before it really gets to the people that it was meant for.
Oh yeah, and you know, the audience will eventually find it, and already have. And like when I hook you up with access to the platforms, you'll see. Like it's kind of amazing. Like there's lots of stuff going on here. I've made friends. I've had interesting discussions. I've had guests on the show that I didn't know would come on. I talked to a porn star a little while ago. That was really fascinating. So yeah, there's like always new and interesting things happening, and we'll just keep it going.
I love it, man. I'm fully on board, bro.
All right, buddy.
Fully on board.
Talk to you soon.
You are now listening to the V2V podcast only on channel Aurelius.